Camera 2, I need you to cooperate. I don't like your attitude right now. I'm going to be zooming in on that, and it's going to drop from 720, which is already much lower than average nowadays, down to like fucking 150. What does that truck run on? Geese. Does that truck run on whole live geese? It's grinding like a motherfucker. This is my life now. So that belies my problem. I'm trying to produce materials. This is going to be like a state of the channel thing for the 50 odd people who might give a shit. 50 people giving a shit about it means 10 will watch. I don't know why. I haven't been able to figure that out yet, but one of these days I will understand, or at least write a paper about the way internet culture is working. But I digress. So I need to talk about the fact that I haven't been doing the things that I wanted to do, and I've been doing a lot of things I don't want to do, and I've been doing a lot of things I really hate doing. Because who is not in that situation right now? COVID-19 shut down the university, and it meant that I couldn't go to the studio. I've lost my studio access. It also meant that nobody was ever leaving the house. I don't even have, like, I'm trying to stream as much as possible, but I do not have internet access during the daytime because my family are working from home. And that causes all kinds of other problems as well. Internet infrastructure here in Idaho is abysmal. It is just disturbing how bad it is. It's gone through the least growth in the history of internet as compared to the rest of the country. There's actually a study about that I've seen. I didn't stop the previous recording. Damn, this recording is going to be huge, which means that it's going to take forever to load. The diesel truck is still annoying. There's still an annoying diesel truck problem that's probably being picked up on microphones or whatever. Because I have no studio, I'm doing this from home. Currently, everybody else is out of the house. I have it for the day. And so I decided to make this series of videos. And I'm hardly alone in, situations that are, oh, why are you yelling now? Just leave me alone. The door is open. Go. Be free. Go chase squirrels or something in the yard. Go. No, just stop though. Why? I didn't explain a lot of things as clearly as I thought I had. Mostly what I've been doing is trying to get streams done over the summer. And then I can edit those streams down because they're kind of a 2-for-1 thing, although hardly anybody watches the streams. During COVID, there was a huge up spike and people were watching some of my stuff for a bit. But once businesses started opening back up and people started leaving their homes again, that dropped to the floor and hardly anybody watches anything to do any longer. But making these videos, usually of Dungeons & Dragons games, sometimes of philosophy readings, but not nearly as often as I'd like. It tends to happen when I have internet during the day. Then once I have that, I cut it down into episodes and I can post those on YouTube after editing it out. That's one of the things that I think that I'm doing that a lot of them don't do. Live play is very awkward and difficult to sit through, but edited play can cut out a lot of the sitting and waiting and arguing and can move things around. Although I've started to think that maybe highlighting how bad some of the arguing is its own thing, because you can learn from our mistakes, for one thing. I even had a segment in one of the shows where I've been trying to do that, but it's too time consuming. I don't think I'll continue doing it, though I'd like to. Anyway, those all fall under the umbrella of LampDate Creative, as well as much content that is not currently being made by other people because of reasons. We've tried to have other people stream, but the infrastructure here is so terrible, and they tend to be people from here, that nothing has really worked. I've been trying to get the artists to do it. The only artists who stream have their own platforms and are already doing better than we are largely in that department anyway. So more power to them. But at the same time, it's like, well, if we could find better ways of collaborating, that would probably help all of us. Why is he yelling at me? Just go away. Go away. Shoo. Shoo. It just wants me to be sad. Okay. Where was I? Within LampDate Creative, some of the projects I've been working on have umbrellas of their own. I tried This Is How We Play a long time ago. It didn't really work out, but I think it's a good idea, which is to sort of focus on the ways that people are doing things that aren't necessarily the way that people expect it to be done. When it comes to gaming, especially things like modded Skyrim is part of that, right? That's what we're doing in the Skyrim Together show. Nostria is the LAMP edition, which is my own version of Dungeons & Dragons that I personally wrote in a homebrew world that we created collaboratively together. Well, sort of. It's West Marches. West Marches does that. It evolves based on the way the players behave. And I was even talking about problems I had with 5th edition early on and why that had led me to make LampDate Creative, but none of those videos panned out. They found it pretty terrible. A lot of our content is quite bad, which is, I feel, excusable under the circumstances because there's still a lot that can be learned from it and it still has entertainment value. It's just the people who are involved don't understand things from the perspective of streamers or YouTubers. They view things from the perspective of whatever is going to be the most entertaining for them is the only thing that really matters because they're in this to be entertained. So it's not to say that they don't respect each other. Well, they don't. They don't mean to disrespect each other, though they do it constantly, and all of them constantly disrespect me on levels they don't understand, because to them, it's not weird to take their phone with them into the bathroom during a game of Dungeons & Dragons so that I can stream them on the toilet. They think that's normal. They don't... It hasn't dawned on them that there might be something weird about that. They tend to carry on conversations with other people within the same room the way that somebody would have a phone conversation during a business meeting with somebody that they know personally about methamphetamines or licensed music, which they'll also play so that we can all hear it. Because they're like, hey, listen to this song that's gonna make trouble for us on YouTube and Twitch, because this is how we've always lived our lives. Why would it be different just because something else is happening? So it's hard to expect them to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be an asshole to my dungeon master on camera that is going to be put into a video that may be seen by hundreds of people over the course of decades. It's not a thought that's ever gotten into their heads, and yet, when they accept doing this, they're accepting it because they think playing Dungeons & Dragons is fun. They don't accept this because they think that there are going to be repercussions for their actions decades down the road. When somebody cancels them over Twitter because of something that they said during a game of Dungeons & Dragons, that's not even true to the way that they actually feel now as a person, which is definitely a risk we are all taking. It's a risk that everybody is taking that's playing Dungeons & Dragons anyway, because the characters that they're playing as are not real, they're not really themselves, and nobody necessarily knows that. It's not within the sphere, and yet it's on YouTube. Welcome to the postmodern now. But there's a lot of potential in the show, This Is How We Play, because it's not just about entertaining other people, and it's not even just about entertaining ourselves and each other. It's about figuring out how we can do these things based on what's out there through creative expression. We are not playing these games the way that these games were originally designed. And I would argue, regardless of what people have a tendency to think or feel, that most don't, because there is a level of interpretation that takes place within the personal experience, right? As you go through the experience of playing a game, you are translating what the game originally was into your experience by experiencing it. It's already different. So from that process, you can learn to do something very similar. This process becomes reiteratively evolutionary, and it's where new games come from. So the idea that it should be somehow shameful, which is huge in Idaho, the Idaho zeitgeist about gaming seems to be that having original ideas is bad, because it's somehow a violation of the content. It's somehow disrespectful of rule of law itself. For somebody to step up and say, I have an idea about how to do this, and you're like, no. The way rules is written has to be more important even than the rule is intended, or the effectiveness of play, lest we be doing something that is appalling to members of our social structure. And I often find that Idahoans are like that. Like, they all want to, it's very important to them that they have all the carry weight rules written down and dealt with, and they never use them. But they want to believe that they enforce them, and they will tell you that they use them, and they never do. That's the kind of thing that is more common here, I think, in Idaho. And I've noticed that a lot of people that I'm gaming with in other places don't do that. I got a gamer in Tunisia who I'm gaming with. Anyway, so this is just to get that out there and make people understand. But the other things that I'm doing, the philosophy program, is based on my own research that I'm doing now in the field of social epistemology, which is the process of epistemological othering into the process of socionormative othering, which is orders of magnitude more complicated than I thought, and has proven to be very difficult to do. So I've been doing some of the reading in a way where I can share it. I would like to be sharing with an audience, but the audience is mostly Sheree, and she's just like, philosophy, bad. And it says very silly things that really annoy me, and is the only one paying attention. But I'm kind of hoping that maybe there'll be some kind of feedback, or maybe even just doing it as though there's an audience is going to effectively make me, if I wind up in the position, which I probably will, a better teacher. And then some of the sociology stuff has been a lot more raw, which I don't like. I haven't touched the Dungeons & Dragons observation because I don't feel like I could do it justice if I can't get into the studio. I don't feel like this kind of a process is going to produce the sort of things I wanted to produce. Now, I already struggle enough with clarity as it is. I don't need to be struggling also with trying to make sure that the audio is going to work, even though about the time I figured out how to make the audio work in the studio, I lost access to the studio. I don't want to have to wrestle with the howling dog, for example. I want there to be a place where I could just go and get some fucking work done in order to do something as serious as the observation of Dungeons & Dragons project, and I just can't right now. It's also worth noting, now that the semester's about to start back up and I'm going to run out of time for things, that in late July, experienced a extraordinary medical emergency. I have a lot of health problems, but the worst revolve around the mystery of my dysfunctional large intestine. And I lost consciousness briefly in the wee hours of the morning after an episode of nausea. I don't know what caused that, but since then I have been working to try to prevent a similar episode from occurring, which has called for dramatic lifestyle changes, as is probably obvious. And I am very rarely consuming solid foods. The general ways that I would deal with stress tended to revolve around food and alcohol. I'll be probably making another episode of Cooking with LampDate, which will be the second one I've ever done, tonight. And that will be the first time I've eaten solid food in several days. And I'm hoping to have an experience that's somewhat normal tonight, as far as food goes. What used to be normal for me, but what's normal under COVID anyway. I lost my health insurance as well. There seems to be some confusion about why. Boise State and my insurance company do not agree on why I lost my insurance or how. I'm trying to get it reinstated, but it's always been paid for by my family, who have become reluctant to do so under the circumstances, despite my medical emergency, or perhaps even because of it, thinking that it's not a very good value to have a sick son that they have to pay a lot of money for to keep alive. I don't know. Maybe they're in denial about the situation and think that they aren't going to have to find out what's wrong with me as long as I don't have the operation to explore the situation, which I can't have because I can't pay for it because they aren't continuing my insurance any longer. I don't know what's happening, but there are a lot of pieces in play, and very little of it has anything to do with my own personal decisions. Unless I give up on having another semester at Boise State and just try to find a job under COVID with a sociology bachelor's degree in order to get insurance and work in a field I don't give a shit about. And would probably have to abandon my recreating process just to stay alive. I'm not willing to do that, so if it kills me, it kills me. I guess. Anyway, that's the state of the channel. It's the reason why a lot of this more important stuff. Oh, that reminds me. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try again on the race video. I made a video on the Anthropological Society's statement on race, which was flagged. I was under the impression that a bot just picked it up and got rid of it, but I think that it was actually flagged by somebody on LeftTube as hate speech. Which is weird because if it was, they would have to have been flagging it as hate speech against the police, I imagine. Or even just hate speech against government. This is LeftTube. we'll come back to that later. Anyway, I'm going to try again. Others have done similar videos, and I'm going to pick from their videos instead of relying on what I had done before in the hopes that that means that I won't have it taken down and given another strike. I'm waiting for the first strike to expire, which I think happens on September 1st. And I should have another video ready to go by then. And that'll be the only really meaningful thing I've done since COVID, because I was too gun shy to do anything after I got a strike, because I was afraid that there were going to be repercussions that hurt not only me, see the LampDate created video, but LampDate created itself writ large. And that is a price I couldn't afford to pay. That was a risk I wasn't willing to take. So a lot of the content that's been going up would seem frivolous to philosophers and sociology students. It would seem very silly. It would seem like, oh, why is there so much Dungeons and Dragons all of a sudden? Well, because I can play Dungeons and Dragons, and it records itself when we stream it. And then I just cut those videos down. It's a lot less work than trying to put together something without a studio that requires concentration and that requires setting something like this up. I mean, it took me 4 hours to put this whole thing together. I've got a lamp over here, Velcroed to a TV tray in order to get directional light. That's what I'm doing right now. And this is terrible. The setup is disgusting. I'm going to edit the shit out of these, and it's going to be hideous. And there's nothing I can do. And the dog, this is my life now. And that's the state of the channel. The state of the channel is everything's fucked up, everybody sucks, and nobody respects me. And our projects are all damned fail. But I am going to keep trying, even while I am eternally bleeding and can't get any of my medical insurance sorted out. I may literally die trying. Also, classes start Monday. I don't know what those classes are going to be. I almost forgot to thank you for your time.